Hi, I'm Lori Daniels, and I live in Portland, Oregon right now, but I also will be from Honolulu, Hawaii. I started playing Frisbee in 1981 as a college student at Mary Washington College in Fredericksburg, Virginia, which is actually now called University of Mary Washington. And it was actually, I was on my way to the dining hall back in 1981. I was actually a freshman in college, and I saw these guys in the middle of this field called Ball Circle, which was kind of in this area in between all these dorms, these red brick dorms, and these two hippie looking guys with headbands and kind of tie-dye shirts were throwing the Frisbee back and forth, and they were doing all these crazy like body rolls and all these crazy tricks, and I was just watching them. I literally stopped dead in my tracks and looked at them in awe and thought to myself, wow, I wish I could do that someday. And then pretty soon afterwards, I was sitting in front of my freshman dorm reading my English assignment, because I am in college after all, and I was sitting on the steps. It was a beautiful spring day in April, and I happened to see something kind of flash past the book I was reading, and it was a Frisbee. And I didn't see a catcher, and I didn't see a thrower. But around the corner, another Frisbee came flying by and landed not too far from where I was sitting. And then a third one, and then a fourth one. Again, no catcher and no thrower could be seen. And then a moment later, these four guys with these purses on are walking past me and going towards these Frisbees sitting on the ground. And because I was sitting there by myself, I said hello and asked them what they were doing, and they explained to me that they were playing this game called Frisbee golf. And I asked if I could watch them a little bit longer, and so I, dropped the book and followed them all the way up to where they were going to putt, because they were playing Frisbee golf, and the putt was a fountain. This statue in the middle of a fountain. And that was my introduction to Frisbee, actually. And after that, some of my Frisbee friends were kind of getting into it, and I heard about Ultimate, and then there was Frisbee golf, and then Freestyle was what the fancy tricks I got to see that I didn't know the name of at the time. And before you knew it, all of my friends from my freshman year, these guys I was friends with, started getting into it. And so I started getting into it too, because I always loved street Frisbee. As a high school student, I used to love skipping it off the ground and trying to do fancy things. And so quickly, as a sophomore in college, I started learning how to do the fancy stuff of freestyle, and I started learning how to play Ultimate, and I also started learning disc golf. And little did I know, and then I learned pretty quickly afterwards, that the Virginia State Frisbee Championships were hosted at the campus. So in 1982, I actually competed in my very first Virginia State Frisbee tournament, and that's the beginning of my competition career. And since then, I've competed countless times. Mostly, originally in the East Coast, it was only the Virginia States for several years, and then Bull Run, and then once in North Carolina, in Raleigh, North Carolina. And then when I moved to the West Coast, then Pennsylvania, Octad, and then when I moved to the West Coast, I picked up Frisbee again, got into disc golf a little bit more, and there was this great freestyle community up in Washington. And because I was living in Washington, starting my job as a social worker, I had to glom on to Frisbee because it's a great balance for working in mental health, because it kept me physically healthy and also involved in using my body, and which is a great balance for using my brain and my heart in my work. Then this was a great way of balancing my body and a sport, as well as being part of a larger community, which is really part of the biggest draw for me in flying disc sports, is the people. And I'm sure other people who were interviewed for this have said the same thing over and over again. It's the people, it's the family, it's our connection. Every tournament is now a reunion full of hugs and kisses and how are yous, and even on Facebook and social media, we connect over and over again about our lives. So after 35 years, I would say, we're looking at 35 years in 2017, I'm still heavily into it and I love it very much, and it has changed my life. When they say Frisbee changed my life, I am one person who would probably put that on my epitaph. So, so that's my story. I'm actually married to a flying disc freestyler now. His name is Jacob Gauthier, and he's one of the best freestylers in the world. And so I get to play with him. And I have a lot of other, like what we say in Hawaii, other ohana, other Hanai sisters and brothers here on the field every time I show up to a tournament. So it's like coming to a family reunion year after year after year with my Hanai siblings and mentors. In 2009, I was elected to become the executive director of the Freestyle Players Association, which is also called the FPA. And that organization has been around for 25, 30 years. And so as executive director, we are involved in really kind of overseeing the sport of freestyle in whatever capacity it is, education, clinics, school outreach, as well as competitions. And we try to really balance those two things together. So there's a board of directors, and I was the head of the board of directors, and we are involved in a slew of projects. We have so many things going on at any given time. We create a brand new membership disc every year. We oversee the website, which is freestyledisc.org, and make sure that that's up and running. We try to keep the results of competitions dynamic, interesting, and updated. We've now come out with a brand new newsletter, a monthly newsletter that anybody can have access to. You don't have to be an FPA member in order to get a monthly newsletter in your inbox. We also sponsor the FPA Worlds, our World Championships. This year in 2016 it's going to be in New York City, but it's been in Prague, Czech Republic, it's been in San Diego, California, it's been in Honolulu, Hawaii, it's been in Seattle, Washington. It's all over the world, and 2017 is going to be in Bibione, Italy. It's also been in Italy several times, and so it becomes an international, so we oversee things internationally as the FPA. We have a great board of directors, and then we also have 2 levels of membership right now. We have a Jammers membership as well as a competitor level membership, and we just sort of keep an eye on those things. This year is a special year for us because we're about to induct our first Freestyle Disc Hall of Fame. That includes 22 inductees, many of whom were pioneers of the sport back in the early 1970s and then mid-1970s. And some of the world's best freestylers, the people who taught us all these moves and really kind of expanded Frisbee well beyond just throw and catch with all the fancy moves, the nail delays, the different catches that we enjoy doing all over and over again and pushing ourselves. They were the people who broke the ground for our sport, and so it's a great honor to be able to induct 22 people this year for the inaugural class of the Freestyle Disc Hall of Fame, and we look forward to inducting more and more of our of these people who really have made such a difference in our lives. So that's the FPA in a nutshell.